So in this new packet, if you will turn to page 5, yes. I hope a lot of you talked about slope a little bit at the end of last year. But if you don't recall, the slope of a line, like if we're looking at a graph, the slope of a line is like how steep it is and what direction it's going. So we call slope, we call it M for short. We use the letter M to stand for it. And the slope of something is the change in y. So change in y. Delta means change. Delta is that triangle. So the change in y divided by the change in x. So the change in y divided by the change in x. So that's simply what we're going to do today from our table. So we're going to figure out what our change in y is. Notice that when we were looking at tables, like yesterday and last week, sometimes these skipped around. These are all in order, which is important. We have to make sure they're in a chronological order before we can kind of decipher them. So when we look at the change in y, what is my change in y from 3 to 7? And 7 to 11. What are we adding to that? 3. So this is plus 4, right? So our change in y is 4. And our change in x from 0 to 1 is simply 1. So we would take change in y divided by change in x, and we would simplify it. 4 divided by 1 is 4. So we would write our slope as 4. We're always writing slope either as a whole number or a fraction, never as a mixed number or a decimal. So sometimes it might be an improper fraction. Sometimes it might be a fraction. Sometimes it might be a whole number. And then we'll just continue on from there. 9 plus what is 15? 6. So it's going up 6. And this is going over 1. From 0 to 1 is just 1. So our slope is just the change in y divided by the change in x. 6 divided by 1 is 6. So first two are pretty straightforward, right? Not too bad yet. This change in y is going up by what? What are they adding to 2 to get 10? 8. Now our change in x is a little different this time. It's going from 0 to 2. So it's going up by 2 this time. So now our change in y is 8 divided by our change of x, which is 2. And we would just think to ourselves, what's 8 divided by 2? So that line would have the same slope as our first problem. All right, so change in y. These look like they're going up by 1. Change in x, this time they're going up by 3. So we're still writing it as the change in y divided by the change in x. So now we have a fraction. And it's simplified, so we can leave it as such. And now our change in y. How do I get from 15 to 25? They're going up by 10. Our change in x is going up by 5. And notice these are positive, right? So sometimes we're going to have negative slope, but not on this page. So we have 10 divided by 5 which is 2. All right, any questions about page 5? Hopefully it's pretty straightforward. We're going to do page 6 together, and then you are going to work on the next 2. So we have to fill in the missing blanks and calculate the slope. Make sure you simplify the slope if you can. So this is going up by 1, so this one must be 3. We're not sure about this yet, so something is between 9 and 15. 15 goes to 18, so what do you think we need to add to 9? 3. So 9, 12, and then 3 more would make 15. So our change in y is that 3, and our change in x is going up 1. So we have 3 divided by 1, which is equal to 3. Does that seem okay? So what would come between 0 and 4? We have 0, we're counting, going up by what here? 2's. And it looks like these might be going up by 2's as well, right? 6, 8, 10. So if the change is in y is going up by 2, and the change in x is going up by 2, our slope is then 2 divided by 2, which is 1. This looks similar. 0, 2, probably we're sticking a 4 here. They're going up by 2's. We're not sure. 19 down, so we would subtract 6. Subtract 6. We subtracted 6 from 7, we'd be at 1. So to get from 1 to 6, I'm sorry, 1 to 7 though, it goes up by 6. So this is a positive change of 6, a positive change of 2. So then our change in y is the 6 divided by 2, which equals 3. What would come between 0 and 10? What would we be counting by? 5, 0, 5, 10, 15. Here we're going from 1 to 8, so that's 7 more. 8 plus 7 is 15. 15 plus 7 is 22. So we were going up by 7 for our change of y, going up by 5 for our change of x. So our slope is our change in y, which is 7, divided by our change of x, which is 5. Remember, we're just going to leave this as an improper fraction. We never write slopes as decimals or mixed numbers, but always as a fraction or a whole number. All right, where are we going? Well, these were going up by 4. So if we go back by 4, 4 minus 4 is 0. These we kind of have to fill in the blank. 10, 20, 30, 40. Will that work? That will get us to 40. So our y's were going up by 10. Our x's were going up by 4. Now this gives us an improper fraction of 10 over 4, but we can simplify this to 5 over 2 if we divided them both by 2, right? So we just need to write it as an improper fraction, but simplify it. Questions about 5 and 6? Pretty straightforward, hopefully. All right, so it's your job to try 7 and 8, knowing that, and then you can work on Alex when you get done, or make sure your other packets are completed and turned in. That's all for today.